Hello and welcome to the Pacific Northwest for the 2026 National Invitation Tournament. Alongside my broadcast partner, John Impleman, I'm Russell Brown, and we have a treat of a game today, John, as the high-powered offense of St. Thomas comes over here to Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Russ, one of the best offenses in the country, leading the Summit League in both two-point and three-point field goal percentage, averaging almost 83 points a game. 10 games this year of 90-plus. They know how to put the ball in the hoop.
On the switch side to Seattle University, it's kind of the sword versus the shield going on. The high-powered offense going up against the stout defense of Chris Victor's Redhawks.
Yeah, for just as good as St. Thomas's offense is, that's how good Chris Victor's Seattle U's defense is, highlighted by WCC Defensive Player of the Year, Will Heimbrough, and one of the best teams in the country in turning people over, 11th nationally in defensive turnover percentage.
It is definitely going to be a good one here to kick off the 2026 edition of the NIT. Let's look at the starting lineup. Of course, for Johnny Towers' squad, in his 15th season at the helm. Nolan Minasali out there, all Summit League selection alongside Austin Hero. Nick Janowski out there alongside Carter Bjerke and Ben Oosterbaan. On the flip side for head coach Chris Victor in his 5th season at the helm of the Redhawks, Braden Maldonado and Malik Arrington make up the backcourt. Will Heimbrough, the WCC Defensive Player of the Year at the 3. Jun Suk Yo and Austin Maurer at the 4 and 5. Great matchup between these two sides as we see this matchup that we saw back in 2021 is a different teams obviously going on. Same coaches, and you see those styles clash again here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so interested because of the clash of styles and teams that are really committed to how they play. And St. Thomas is good defensively as well, and Seattle U more than capable offensively. But in terms of what they hang their hat on, is it going to be Johnny Towers' high-powered offense, or is it going to be Chris Victor's stout defense? And regardless, I think we're going to have a great game here at the Red Hawk Center, Russ.
It indeed will be that. As we get a look at Johnny Tower here, as I said, in the 15th season has done nothing but win in St. Paul. 315 wins under his belt. His sons are on the squad. It's a family business there for head coach Johnny Towers.
Yeah, I think he bleeds purple, whether it's his playing career, at St. Thomas or, 25 years plus on the coaching staff. And heck of a run, and he's got the program on the rise for sure.
On the flip side for Chris Victor, another guy that just puts up 20-plus win seasons. 4 of the last 5 years since Chris Victor took over the helm, and he's built up yet another good program as a transition year into the WCC. And there was some bumps on the road, but he still sailed the ship in the right direction as they continue to pick up another 21 season.
Yeah, Seattle U's lucky to have a coach of Chris Victor's caliber, and he's just so consistent. And even when the offense has struggled at times this year, their defense has always shown up, which is why, as you mentioned, another 20-win season here in Seattle.
We're ready for tip here inside the Red Hawk Center, as the Tommies and the Redhawks kick off the NIT here in the Pacific Northwest. First possession goes to the visiting team in sense of they're not in their home city, as handling the rock is Austin Hero. We're going to drive inside there. Oosterbaan, first 2 points go to the visitors.
Yeah, and right away, Seattle U has a size advantage, but St. Thomas plays that 5-out kind of free-flowing system where their bigs, quote-unquote bigs, are shooters, and we see Oosterbaan right away attacking the hoop as Braden Maldonado comes off for the 3. And Oosterbaan playing as well as any Tommy, 19 a game over his last 2.
Maldonado saying they got tipped, but it's still saved. Second possession here for the Tommies. Again, 24-9 on the season, 12-4 in Summit League. Dump off inside, block from behind, Tommies retain possession. Kicked out for a 3 off the mark, thanks to the hands of Heimbrough.
And right away, we're already seeing that pace, Russ, of St. Thomas's offense trying to get up the floor. And you don't score over 90 10 times in a season without pushing tempo.
Maldonado inside, nice move, can't get the finish at the cup. Tommy's the other way, near side with Hero. Hero, skip pass over to Bjerke. Pass inside, and just a late rotation for the Redhawks. Janowski puts up the second bucket for the Tommies.
Because St. Thomas's spacing is so good and they play their 5-out offense, they do a lot of back cutting, and Austin Hero with the nice pass right there.
Maldonado rises on the wing. He knocks down the tray. Maldonado, a selection in WCC, second team in those postseason awards. Pacing the squad, 14.5 points a game. Nearly a turnover here, but picking it up before it crosses out of bounds is Oosterbaan. Oosterbaan inside, Austin Maurer on his hip. Backdoor cut, broken up by who else but Malik Arrington, the leader in the WCC for steals. Quick hezzy for Arrington, gets the free throw line. Backdoor cut, just not on the same page. Bit late of a delivery.
Both teams showing their ability to cut off the ball already as we see Seattle U pick up a little bit here.
Having the turnover here, Tommy's ball behind the back dribble, inside, backing down low, and Asali takes a tumble and one. The preseason selection in the Summit League at the line for the old-fashioned three-point play. All Summit League first team and defensive team in the postseason awards. He's a Brookfield, Wisconsin native at the line. 20 points a game, just under 4.5 assists, but misses the free throw. Ball tipped around in the hands of Arrington.
And for as efficient as the St. Thomas offense is, one area they actually struggle is from the free throw line, Russ. So, and something that's hurt them in close games this year.
Arrington off the screen from Maurer, gets the block, turns away. Kicks back out in traffic. Rises and he hits the second three of the night for the Red Hawks, 6-6.
If you're Chris Victor, getting Braden Maldonado and Jun-Suk Yo threes right out of the gate is a good sign. And seeing the leading scorer in conference, Nick Janowski, driving Will Heimbrodt right there and already attacking the paint early for St. Thomas.
Just snuck that over the hand of Heimbrodt, who takes the three here, no good. Good box out down low by Bjorky. Here's Hero. Ooh, nearly puts Maldonado on skates. He does and finishes at the cup. More of a pass-first guard compared to his brother, as we know, but he showed his offensive ability right there.
When you're playing against a team that makes 10 threes a game, you feel like you got to, protect the three-point line, but really the key is protecting the paint because everything St. Thomas does is activated when the ball touches the paint, and they're getting into the paint way too easily at the start of this game for uncontested layups.
Minnesali got the block. In transition, here are the Tommies. Red Hawks good to get back on defense. Another quick crossover baseline. That time Heimbrodt gets to it. Picking up their own blocked shot. Janowski still no good. Hero with the pump fake. He lost it and recovers. Helter-skelter here for the Tommies. Stuck in the corner, finally alleviates the block. Inward spin, kicks back out. Red Hawk defense smothering right now. Ball knocked away by Yo. Recovered once again. Inside dump off. Maybe a little too much passing there for the Tommies. Maldonado looking for the screen. Austin Maurer on the roll. Set kicks it Arrington on the wing. Yo, corner jab step. Centers himself, spins, rises up. Great move, can't finish. Ball tipped around out of bounds. And it will be Tommy Ball. Not before a timeout here. 10-6 early on St. Thomas here in the 2026 NIT. Back here in Seattle, St. Thomas with a slim 4-point lead early on here in the NIT. They will have possession. Isaiah Johnson-Arigu checking in alongside Ryan Default. On the flip side for the Redhawks, John Christopoulos and Huran Dan checking in for Chris Victor's Redhawks squad. Tommy's with possession here. Janowski. Maldonado draped on him. Maldonado picks the cookie jar. He's coming away with it. He has Dan to his right. He's going to keep it. He's going to rise up through contact. Still no whistle, and the rebound to Default.
Yeah, and Maldonado normally a great finisher. I thought he could have gone up with his left hand there. Not really a lot of rim protection on St. Thomas's side, as that missed shot leads to the fast break in the corner three for Johnson-Arigu.
Well, 13-6. We've seen these high-powered Tommy offense all season. And it's so far made the trip over from St. Paul. Triple hand up, knocked free. Last touch by, they're going to say it's going to stay with the Redhawks. It's right in front of us here. And JoJo Murphy's going to check in. It's been the spark plug off the bench for the Redhawks this season. JoJo has had 10-plus points in 4 of his last 5 games, really playing his best basketball down the late stretch.
Huge in that WCC tournament win over San Diego with 12 points. And like you mentioned, Russ kind of filled in for Brady Maldonado when he was out with the injury and provided some of the scoring punch that Seattle U needed to stay afloat.
Redhawks looking to break up a 7-0 run here from St. Thomas. Dan backing down, double team comes. Christopoulos pulls up just under the right elbow and drains it.
Really smart move there by John Christopoulos. All the attention on Huron Dan, and great job by Dan taking his time and probing. We've seen at times this year him get sped up and does a nice job finding Christopoulos on that 45 cut.
St. Thomas so far shooting 60% from the field. Oosterman, he'll give it up. And Asali, he'll kick it in the corner. 3-point shot teed up. That one comes off the rim, off the hand of Janowski.
And Janowski's struggling a little bit. You know, last 3 games, just 9 points a game. Guy that led them in conference scoring at 19 a game and more than capable of blowing up for a big night. And Seattle U making a concerted effort to go inside to Dan, try to build that foul count, because something that makes St. Thomas so unique, Russ, is they don't post up their 4s and 5s almost at all. They post their guards. Janowski and Milanosle play through them and let the bigs stretch the floor since they can really shoot it.
We see Bjerke check back in for St. Thomas. We saw the mismatch going on with Huran Dan. Is now checking in 6'9", going against the big frame of Dan. Dan spins baseline, rises up through the contact, and just hangs up once again on the lip. Tommy's the other way. They take no time, exploding into the cup. Layup just comes off that time on the flip side for Default. Murphy near side will set up the Red Hawk offense. Coming off the screen, dangerous pass to Arrington, and then inside of Dan. Wasn't ready to catch it.
Yeah, Malik Arrington's played with Huron Dan, long enough to know that the probability of him catching the bullet pass on the skip, not having time to react, isn't super high, so that one is on him. The point guard who's number 2 in the conference in assist to turnover ratio, normally does a good job taking care of it, but Dan not quite ready for that one.
4-point game here as we dip under 13.5 left to go in the first half of play. Coleman will check the ball game here for head coach Johnny Tower. 3-point shot, pure as day. Isaiah Johnson-Arigu. 5 points off the bench for him.
Yeah, and just 31% from the 3-point line, but nice looking stroke and kind of an X factor off the bench. The third leading scorer for the Tommies despite not starting this season.
Thomas continue to shadow that double team anytime Dan catches it on the block. Missed. JoJo Murphy rebound. Fakes, putting it back up. Double team knocks it free. On the floor, here's Coleman. And that one knocked out of bounds again. Good job by Murphy not giving up. Keeping the ball with the Red Hawks. You see John Christopoulos, who's been here as long as he has, telling his Red Hawk teammates, let's calm down.
Yeah, and it's a good sign they're attacking the offensive glass there, because where Seattle U does have an advantage is inside. They're looking to get the ball inside through the post. But when they do have those second chance opportunities, they do need to, like John Christopoulos was telling his teammates there, hey, take a deep breath.
Ambro picked up his dribble, turns, takes one step inside, no good. Dan had it initially poked away. Again, Tommy's coming away with it. Johnson-Arigu, good. Been great off the bench so far. Default, directing traffic, skip pass, quick 3-point shot. Bjerke is good. Bjerke at 6'9" is as pure of a 3-point shooter as you're going to find.
Yeah, and Dan was in no man's land because he wasn't impacting the help, and Bjerke has an absolute flamethrower for a three-point shot.
Arrington inside, back out to JoJo Murphy. Murphy being hounded out there by default. Arrington, Tween, 5 on the shot clock, back Murphy. Swarming defense continues for the Tommies. Turnaround shot, Dan! And you'll live with that right now, you're Johnny Tower, because that was great defense. Kind of a miracle shot there by Dan.
The wherewithal for Dan to understand the shot clock, too. He kind of got thrown a grenade there by JoJo Murphy of, late clock and hitting the turnaround. That could end up being huge later in the game.
Murphy going to pick up a foul here, and we're going to take a break. Carter Bjerke hits another one. St. Thomas's D1 leader has them at 18-10 here in the NIT. Welcome back to the Red Hawks. Today we're St. Thomas on top, 18-10. Currently shooting 2 of 3 behind the arc. On the season, 36% back there. And the man Carter Bjerke again hits another one. Leads St. Thomas in their D1 era for 3-point field goals, and he continues to light it up here.
Yeah, and like we talked about, Russ, Dan was just in no man's land. It's a guy that 4th in the country in three-point field goal percentage. 80% of his field goal attempts are threes. You have to be there on the catch. If you're still running when the ball's in his hands, he's got too quick of a release, as we see the nice move there out of the timeout.
Minnesali been lighting it up all season. 20 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists in that loss to North Dakota in the Summit League tournament. Maldonado off the handoff. Heinbrook, little steam but poked clean. Hayden Tibbetts comes away with it. Running the break, kicks it out. Transition 3, no, just a pump fake for Janowski. Coleman, he'll work it out. Minnesali, JoJo Murphy on him. Gets to the block and tumbles out of bounds. Turnover here for St. Thomas.
So Chris Victor definitely not happy with the Seattle U defense, as they're on pace to give up 80, here to St. Thomas. But they have forced 5 turnovers already, and St. Thomas, one of the best in the country at taking care of the ball, averaged less than 10 turnovers a game. The problem is Seattle U has 0 points so far, Russ, out of those 5 forced turnovers. And if they're going to stay pace with the Tommies, they are going to have to convert on some of those turnovers that they're forcing.
Jun-Suk Yo on the kick to the corner. Battles inside against Minasali. Trying to use that size advantage. Rises up. Can't get the touch off the glass, but at the line for two. Yo was the X factor early on in the season. It really was Braden Maldonado and Will Heimbrot that really got this Red Hawks squad after a solid non-conference. But Jun-Suk Yo really stepped up and has been that big offensive punch the Red Hawks have needed.
Yeah, and in WCC play, their second leading scorer, the tough thing is, he transitioned from Gonzaga where he was a reserve into a kind of a star role. And some games he has it and some he doesn't. In the last 6 games, 3 of them he scored double figures, 3 he hasn't. And struggled from the free throw line at times. So, the one kind of knock would be, man, you just wish you were knew what you're getting every night, because the ceiling is really high, but the floor can be kind of low. And I do like the fact that they went in and attacked, Minnesali there. And I think the best way to get a 20-point score off the floor is get the guy in foul trouble. So look for Chris Victor to continue to try to attack Janowski and Minnesali, those 2 elite scorers, as we see that press forcing the 6th turnover for Seattle U.
Seattle U in and off the made shot by Yo here, so they'll get the ball back, trailing by 9. Again, the thing that has been consistent this season for Chris Victor has been the defense. The offense has been hit or miss. Heimbrough backing down, he'll rise up again, left it short, well short in the hand of Osterbahn.
And Osterbahn, St. Thomas's defense has been aggressive and good, but when the ball's been close in the paint, there was barely even a contest there by Osterbahn. Heimbrough's got to take his time and go up and finish, and Dan had a similar opportunity. There isn't rim protection there like some of the WCC teams they've played against.
Snagged off the iron there by Heimbrough, out to JoJo Murphy. We dip under the 10-minute mark. Murphy backdoor cut, Christopoulos, he'll rise on the reverse layup, no good. The point blank one's not going in for the Red Hawks at home. Burst of speed inside, and a foul's gonna be called. Janowski's drive, so it'll be helped up by his teammates. John Christopoulos will pick up his first, and we'll have, looks like on the floor it was called, so baseline inbound. Austin Maurer checking back in for Seattle U, and Austin Hero for St. Thomas. Left to basket inbound here for the Tommies. And knocked out of bounds again, and John, you mentioned it. That's now the 7th turnover, but only 1 point off of those turnovers so far.
So Seattle U defense has stabilized a little bit, but we talked about it, Russ. They've, missed 3 layups, and it's something that they've struggled with in conference play in the WCC. Seattle U was 12th, dead last in 2-point field goal percentage. Conversely, St. Thomas number 1 in that stat in the entire country.
Maldonado showed off the handles, kicks out. JoJo Murphy flared out into the corner. His 3 is good. JoJo in the corner, 14 points now for the Red Hawks. Tommy's still up by 6, though, with the rock.
Great job by JoJo Murphy relocating on the Braden Maldonado drive there, getting away from the defender so that by the time the pass was made, he had space to get off the 3. Really sound offensive basketball.
Minasali had the speed advantage against Maurer and then throws it out of bounds off the fingertips of Hero. And now the 8th turnover here for St. Thomas, uncharacteristic for Johnny Towers' squad.
Yeah, we talked about it. I mean, on the season, 9.4 turnovers per game, and that's been a staple of Coach Towers' program is they take care of the ball, and Seattle U's pressure definitely contributing to forcing some turnovers, and now can you capitalize on back-to-back possessions?
Maldonado off the screen, Austin Maurer calling for it. They're working away from it, though. Heimbrough just under the free throw line. He'll rise up for the money, no good, gets his own miss. Rises back up, that was knocked free by a Tommy, not sure who, but coming away with it was Johnson Arrigo. Goes right into the body of JoJo Murphy, who takes a tumble and will be called with a foul. And how quickly these Tommies get out in transition. It's almost like a turnover off a missed shot is how fast they get sprung out into the break.
Yeah, it's like to pull from what their hockey team probably talks about, changing sides, and the going from offense to defense, and they really, really do get the ball up the court. You can tell it's a big part of their identity.
Default here. Minasali in the corner. Murphy hands off. Minasali puts the head down. Gets to the block. Centers himself in the painted area. Turnaround right hook shot. Hangs up. No good. Ball tipped free to Hero. Hero fakes the pass outside. Behind the back. Will Heimbrough. I don't know how Hero got that off. Look. Drive baseline here. Bjerke. 8 on the shot clock for the Tommies. Got to get something up. 3-point Bjerke, no good, a little too strong. 6-point separation between the Red Hawks and Tommies here in the opening round of the NIT. Foul is called there, and that will lead us to another immediate timeout. 2014, the visiting St. Thomas Tommies on top. We'll be right back here on ESPN+. Welcome back to Seattle. Welcome Brown, John Impleman on the call. John, you and I talked to Chris Victor before the game, and you posed the question, if Seattle you guys come away with this win, what is the story? And, you know, Chris was very blunt, and he said, we got to outscore in points in the paint. So far, that has not been the case. Yeah, points in the paint and rim pressure were the terms you used, Russ. And so far, St. Thomas, 12 points in the paint, and Seattle U, 2. And it's not from a lack of trying. You know, Seattle U's had multiple opportunities to finish in the paint, as we see another one here on the Jun Suk-Yo drive. And I think he probably talked to the guys in the time about playing with poise and finishing. There's not a bunch of shot blockers inside there, so you just got to take your time, go up and finish. And if they can turn that around a little bit, then I think they'll continue to kind of chip away at that lead. JoJo Murphy trying to pick it up. It was tipped by a Tommy. Yeah, new entire shot clock because the ball went all the way into the backcourt, so it doesn't just reset to 20, goes all the way to 30. Murphy had to launch that initial possession. Austin Maurer did good to poke it back out. Yo, with that Pop-Tart yo-yo move, kicks out. That one left just a bit short there for Murphy on the wing. And that's a really good look. That's a nice pass by Jun Suk-Yo, and we talked about, you know, Seattle U doesn't want to settle for jumpers. They will take that quality of a look from 3 all night long. Jab and drive here, Johnson, Urigo. Bjerke, he'll give it up. Quarter, Hero works his way back out to the wing. It's in on the shot clock for the Tommies. Hero inside, kicks out. Corner 3 ball, that one left a bit short. And JoJo Murphy doing a great job boxing out Bjerke, giving him the size advantage down low. Yeah, the lefty to fault, great driving to the hoop. Only 8 3-point attempts in the entire season before that one, so not what he wants to do. Red Hawks, 1 of the last 7 from the floor, rising up and taking a shot here was Hero. Insult to injury, called for the foul, and Malik Arrington will be at the free throw line here for 2.
an area where Malik Arrington improved greatly from last year, you know, shooting over 70% from the free throw line this season after being in the 50s last season. And, you know, if he's able, it won't count as points in the paint if he's able to make these, but they did get a paint touch. He went up to score, drew the foul, and that's what you're looking for if you're Chris Victor.
Arrington hits the first. Seattle University Redhawks coming out of the WCC, their first season in the conference, returning to the conference. It's a three-bid league. Gonzaga, Santa Clara, and St. Mary's all getting in the big dance. Redhawks here in the NIT for the first time since 1957. First home postseason game since the CIT back in 19. On the flip side, for the Tommies, in what has been a magical transition to Division I, the best transition since another team Seattle U knows very well in Grand Canyon University, as they've just been continue to light it up. Now in the Summit League, they were the one-bid Summit. North Dakota State ended up winning the postseason, but these Tommies were picked preseason favorites.
Yeah, in their fifth season, you know, transitioning from Division 3 to Division I, as we see the three-pointer there going over the top. But as you mentioned, Russ, every single year, Johnny Towers' program has increased their win total, and they finished with 24 wins last year. They're sitting on 24 right now. You know, a win at the Red Hawk Center would continue that trend. And the other thing is they have a young roster. You know, their top six all have eligibility remaining, and the current climate of things, retention is difficult. But if they can retain their core part of their roster, they would be the preseason favorites for the Summit League next year as well.
Christopoulos coming off the screen, drains the three. Big one there for JC, the hometown kid from O'Dea High School, knocks down that one, and it's just like that, a one-point game.
Yeah, kind of coming off that wide patent pin down where catching on the move, he's so good from three.
John Gennarigo answers right back. It is a little bit deeper. We're trading threes inside the Red Hawk Center.
Yeah, and I talked to a Summit League assistant today who talked about how Johnson Arrigo is kind of their X factor. He's their third leading scorer, and we're seeing it 8 points already and containing this lead for the Tommies.
And Maldonado says, you can shoot, I can shoot. As he hits one, now 6 points for him, back to a one-point game. Maldonado, the leading scorer for this squad, 15 and a half. Had that, make it 14 and a half, had that late injury in the season, but came back in time for the WCC tournament as the fading three hits back iron there for Janowski.
And Maurer switching and doing a really good job keeping Janowski in front of him. And those are the threes you will live with St. Thomas taking, are the ones where they try to create them for themselves off the bounce. As Malik Arrington's asking for a review on whether or not it was tipped. Chris Victor looking to his sideline. His assistant's telling him to challenge it. We will get a challenge here, Russ.
Looks like it is. Chris Victor signals for that challenge. We'll stay here on this and see what the outcome is. But Redhawks, with this possession, if they get it retained, have a chance to take the lead. When things were looking a little bleak, St. Thomas came out with the first couple jabs and punches, being the, you know, it's a neutral side game.
The previous out of bounds is under review.
As you hear from the officiating crew, St. Thomas definitely came out the aggressor, but you see Chris Victor's defense has helped him get back into this ball game.
Yeah, and St. Thomas, they're not going to beat themselves, right? The way that they play, you know, in terms of toughness, shot selection, the effort that they play with. And Seattle U's kind of similar in that regard. And with we see that drive and kick there by Malik Arrington touching the paint, passing it out to Braden Maldonado for the open three. And you know, St. Thomas had 20 points with 10 minutes to go in the half for us. We talked about they were on pace for 80. The last 5 minutes, just 3 points, you know. So Seattle U's defense is stabilized, and as a result, on offense, they've kind of been able to loosen things up. And like you said, if they can retain possession here and get a bucket, they will take the lead heading into that last 5 minutes.
And we hyped up the St. Thomas offense in that opener. By all due respect, they're the second-ranked defense in the Summit League, too. They are a well-rounded team under head coach Johnny Tower. On the flip side for the Redhawks, they had a great defense this season. What else is new under Chris Victor? But 11th ranked offense in the WCC, and obviously the WCC a really good mid-major conference, but still that offense just hasn't been matching the defensive intensity.
And that's almost more of a credit to Chris Victor and the culture he's built, because oftentimes teams defensively can be front runners, right? If the offense is humming and going well, hey, my effort's going to be great, but if not, I'm not going to try as hard. And regardless of the offensive night that Seattle U's had, game in and game out, their defense shows up, and I think that that's a testament, you know, to the identity and culture that's been built here. And the officials are continuing to look at the review, and it'll be interesting to see if there's conclusive evidence. You know, on the court, it was called St. Thomas basketball, so there does need to be conclusive evidence to overturn it, and not sure if we're going to get that.
And the official breaks away to tell both teams to stay close to their bench. The other game going on in the NIT that results in kind of this one as well is South Alabama and Auburn. The winner of this game plays the winner of that game. Currently, South Alabama Jaguars up 21-16 over number 1 Auburn Tigers. So, that's interesting to watch, too. It's been a great opening here to the NIT, but, you don't look ahead on either of these teams, obviously. But, NITs, any other postseason, anything can happen.
Well, and we all know who the head coach is at Auburn, I think, by now, Stephen Pearl, Bruce Pearl's son. But the head coach of South Alabama, Richie Riley, who's been there for a while now, really, really good, up-and-coming head coach. They play a unique zone. They're really hard to go against, and kind of has this mantra, burn the boats, and they play with a chip on their shoulder. And obviously, they're doing that early on. We'll see how long they can sustain it, but definitely came ready to play against the Tigers.
And if I'm not mistaken, regardless of who wins this one, they would host in the case of South Alabama winning that game. So for Tommy fans, for Red Hawk fans, obviously something to monitor, but all that matters tonight is this matchup between them here inside the Red Hawk Center. Review process still going on here.
And from what I could tell, the officials, I don't know if they were able to get the exact look that they wanted, Russ. And, they want it to go quickly, right? Every official has heard on every sports podcast, whether it's football or basketball, get rid of reviews, get rid of reviews. I promise you the officials were not over there saying how long could we take. And I think they were hoping to get a cleaner look at things. And it could be unfortunate for Seattle U where maybe the ball did go off of St. Thomas, but they just didn't get a clean enough look, and they have to not overturn it, which would be my guess right now. We'll see. They do overturn it, and
the call on the floor has been changed. It's white ball. Shot clock's at 23, game clock 4:56. White will retain their ability to challenge.
And we get a replay here, and this is hard to see. You see the hand of Janowski, maybe.
Yeah, and hard to tell, but the good thing if you're Seattle U is you retain your challenge and your timeout, which if you're Chris Victor, you're happy about that.
Ball floated up here. Faces up, step back for him. Alleviates to Maldonado. Maldonado scoop pass corner. Around the horn it goes to the Red Hawks. The three, good! Red Hawks take the lead, 25-23.
And even though that was kind of contested, the reason I like that shot is we've seen throughout the year, Russ, at times as we see the turnover there, the steal by Malik Arrington.
JC rises up for the three, tipped away, ball bouncing, ping-ponging around. Janowski comes down with it for the Tommies.
But we've seen Jun-Suk Yeo kind of pump fake sometimes when he's been open from three and drive it, and that time he just used his size and athleticism to raise up, carry it high, and let it fly, and knocks it down.
He gets high on those jumpers. Bjorky, as the Red Hawk Center crowd gets into it.
And you'll never see kind of one of the bigs posting for, as we see Bjorky there, the three-point threat for St. Thomas. It's going to be the guards that are looking to post and then create opportunities for the shooters.
Hero launches it, no good on that one. That was from well downtown. As the shot clock expired, Red Hawks can tack on now. SU on a 15-3 run. Arrington met on the block. They have a mismatch. Will they switch? Maldonado now. Downhill against Hero. Pump fake. Goes in the body of top and gets the foul. Excuse me, making that Austin. So going to the free throw line here will be the Red Hawks again. So far on the day, 3 of 4. We'll be right back here in 2026 NIT on ESPN+. Redhawks on a 15-3 run over the last 6 and change here inside the Redhawks Center as they are in front now over St. Thomas 25-23, opening round of the 2026 NIT here. Redhawks back in the NIT since 1957, first ever Division I postseason here for St. Thomas as they continue that magical run from Division III.
And that was Austin Hero, the starting point guard for St. Thomas's second foul, Russ. You know, Associated Coach Mike Maker at the timeout was a little frustrated with him because he left his feet trying to block Braden Maldonado's shot there. Nice job by the wily veteran Maldonado. And I don't know if this has been brought up on any broadcast yet this season, but Hero is the younger brother of Miami Heat, Tyler Hero.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
More of a pass-first guy than score guy, but you know, definitely got a little swag that he plays with, but probably will be on the bench here for the last 3-4 with the second foul. And Hayden Tibbetts taking his place as the point guard here for the Tommies.
Maldonado's free throws make it a 4-point game here. Minasali in the blender, somehow retained possession on that. Everybody had a hand in there. Arrington knocked it free again, putting it up off the glass and finishing through contact. Everybody kept reaching in, and somehow Minasali did just enough to retain and put it up off the glass. And now with 6, has a chance to make it 7 points.
And the Arrington reach, I think Chris Victor was fine with because he was the primary defender. What he was frustrated with, and we see it here on the replays, when Will Heimbroek came over with his size and length, leading the WCC in blocks, he started reaching too. Instead of wall up, right now if you're Will Heimbroek, you wall up, don't reach, that's where the foul is.
Minasali converts the old-fashioned 3-point play here. Now just a 1-point game. Yo gonna flash to give the screen. Heimbroek rolls into the corner. Arrington had to watch the footing there in front of the St. Thomas bench. Maldonado reset, shot clock, or make that game clock, dips down to the 3-minute mark, and Heimbroek right place, right time.
Small ball lineup for Chris Victor with Heimbroek playing the 5 here.
Arrington catch and shoot 3, not necessarily his game, but is capable. That one comes off in the hands of the Tommies.
And this is as small as we've seen Seattle U play all season. You know, normally there's either Austin Maurer, Huron Dan, or Brock Felder in the game at all times for the most part.
Janowski and the Tommies trying to regain the lead here. Backing down, rises up for the paint fade, no good.
And that's a good look for Janowski, lefty who can really score it. You know, redshirted last year at Nebraska, has come over and been a breakout player for St. Thomas, averaging 19 a game in conference. And like we mentioned, last 3 games struggling a little bit to score the ball.
Heimbroek step through, rises, and one again. Will Heimbroek through the contact. We've seen that several times now. Will Heimbroek apologized to the official, kind of flicked it towards him a little too hard. You know, shows the character of him, but good finish through contact there for 15.
And that's the poise we talked about, right? The lack of rim protection for St. Thomas, for as big of an offensive threat as Carter Bjarke is, and just like we talked about, 10 made threes in a game, he does not provide rim protection, you know. So if you are Will Heimbroek, you have, you know, the athleticism and the length advantage there. Look to attack just like he did.
Just like on the other side with Minasali, Heimbroek converts the 3-point play. Austin Maurer will check in for him. The Medford, Oregon native, again, was at Grand Canyon before transferring over here to Seattle U.
And now with Maurer back in going big, he's got a big job guarding Bjarke, making sure he doesn't get loose for an open 3. Because the big man for St. Thomas does not need much space to get it off.
Tibbetts was working against Christopoulos. Now it's a switch. Janowski spins inward, fakes, stuck, step through, high off the glass, no good. Ball tipped out right to the hands of Johnson Akigo. Baseline drive, kicked out. Tibbetts launches the corner 3 to make that the wing 3 and knocks it down. Big one for Tibbetts. First points for him off the bench.
You see some of the versatility of Minasali too, who leads St. Thomas not only in scoring but also assists. Really, really nice pass there.
Christopoulos rises in the corner, no good. Tibbetts with the rebound. Tommies once again can reclaim the lead. Quickly into the corner, drive here, Bjarke. Stuck under the basket, cutting inside and finishing is Johnson Arrigo.
Really nice drive, playing off 2 in the pass to Johnson Arrigo for the finish.
Arrigo off the bench, 10 points for the Tommies. Big basketball right now on the road for the Maple Grove, Minnesota native. Redhawks on their heels again here. Arrington step through, just trying to throw it up. Good defense there by Minnesali. He's the one who comes away with it. Minnesali not slowing down for anybody. Glides through the air, and again, at the rim contact, but no whistle. Dipping later here. 35 seconds. Three. No good. Short. Johnson Arrigo on the rebound, and about a second separation shot in game clock. Tommy's can play for the final shot here. Tommy's, regardless, you want to go into the locker room with the lead here, up by 1. Tibbetts, as Christopoulos had a foul to give. Still have another one. That was just the 15th foul here as Dan's going to check in. Defensive sub there, looks like with Austin Maurer.
Yeah, and John Christopoulos with his second foul there, so Miles Amos kind of the defensive specialist coming in for the last 14 seconds because they do still have that foul to give. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see if Bjerke comes up for the ball screen, if he actually sets it, does Dan switch? Does he not?
Tibbetts with the rock here, dipping under 10 seconds.
Here
Tibbetts waiting, flash screen Bjerke. Tibbetts comes off it, Dan closes out, knocks it free. Maldonado picks it up with 1, rises! Oh, off the glass, couldn't get it to go. And great defense sends this to the break with a 1-point lead for St. Thomas. St. Thomas 31-30 over Seattle University.
15 seconds.
It's been a fun first half where we saw St. Thomas came out firing. Red Hawk defense, I think, helped neutralize that and get this back in. We'll take a break, come back with halftime analysis here on ESPN+.
3, 2.
Welcome back to Seattle, 31-30 St. Thomas. with the lead here in the opening round of the 2026 NIT. Time to look at some halftime stats for all the folks at home here. And it really started to even out there as the half went on there, John. 45% from the floor for St. Thomas and 30% for Seattle U. But those looked a lot different early on as St. Thomas really came out around the 60 mark for most of that first half.
Yeah, like you said, Russ, St. Thomas got off to a really quick start, up by as many as 10 points, and then Seattle U kind of surged back and took the lead by 4. And you're looking at, the stats from the first half. I think if you're, Johnny Tower, what you're frustrated about is your team averages 9 turnovers a game. You have 10 in the first half, right? And even though Seattle U hasn't really, they've only scored 4 points off those 10 turnovers, those are shots that you aren't getting, on goal for your offense that's one of the most efficient in the country. And then if you're Chris Victor, you're excited about the fact that you've made 6 three-pointers, but on twos, you're 3 of 14 versus a team that, struggles with rim protection. So I think that, for the second half, Seattle U is going to have to figure out a way to finish inside the paint, if they want to be able to leave here with a win. And then St. Thomas is going to have to take care of the ball. And, if they end up with 20 turnovers, that's going to work in Seattle U's favor. So it'll be interesting to see on those two sides of things what kind of prevails in the second half.
Redhawks went on that run to take the lead there, but then ended the half on 1 of 7 in a scoring drought the last 2-16. So, it really was a half of runs. I think St. Thomas had the more sustained run, but Seattle U had, I would say, the better bulk of it there in the middle.
Yeah, and St. Thomas just 2 free throw attempts to Seattle U 7th. And, Seattle U's half-court defense has been really good. I think that, it's really just been their inability to convert on the other end. And St. Thomas really, I think, did come out as the aggressors, and we talked with, Coach Victor about it was finals week and what kind of energy would his guys have. And I think what we saw is that as the game settled in, Seattle U picked up things and kind of developed, put kind of their stamp on the game. So I'm really curious to see here coming out in the second half kind of who punches first and how those first 4 minutes go, because we're basically dead even here.
We'll take another quick break, come back with first half highlights here on ESPN+.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Back here in Seattle for the opening round of the 2026 NIT. St. Thomas 31, Seattle University 30 here in this matchup. Look at some first half highlights here. St. Thomas leads by that slim 1 point. And again, St. Thomas came out the aggressor, as we saw. You know, their high-powered offense came out and was as advertised early on, but the Red Hawks matched them as the game went on.
Yeah, and we see a nice paint touch there by Brady Maldonado, spraying it to JoJo Murphy for the three, and that downhill high-tempo pace there, and one of the stars of the first half for St. Thomas and Isaiah Johnson-Origo. Big points off the bench, and really back and forth. Once kind of things settled in, and guys making plays all over the court there. Tibbetts stepping in, the seldom used reserve hitting the three, and then Heimbrodt with the and one, drawing the foul on Bjerke there.
Again, as you said, Johnson-Origo, 10 points off the bench, perfect 4 of 4, including 2 of 2 from downtown, also snagged 3 rebounds. So really solid performance off the bench. And in postseason play, that's what you need. You need the guys off the bench. And he led the Summit League in bench points, so that's not a surprise.
And the only guy in the game to reach double figures so far, because Seattle U has done a really good job on, Nolan Minisale and Nick Janowski, who combined to average 36 a game for St. Thomas, both first-team all-conference guys, just to combine 5 of 15 from the field for 11 points. And then St. Thomas has done a really good job on Seattle U's guys, holding, Brady Maldonado's got 8 and Yo has 7. But besides that, Seattle U just shooting 30% from the field. So definitely more of a defensive battle in the first half, and we'll see if that continues in the second half, Russ.
Yeah, 5 of 17 for the Red Hawks. A big 3 of Maldonado, Heimbrodt, and Yo. As you said, Maldonado leading the pack with 8 there. But, it's going to be interesting to see if the defense can hold on. You saw St. Thomas maybe get a little tired, heavy leg there. As we saw, that timeout with the review maybe gave him a little spark to close out that half. But it'll be interesting to see how much St. Thomas can keep those legs under them, how aggressive they play.
Yeah, and I think the first 4 minutes will tell us a lot. Is it going to be a game that comes all the way down the wire, or can somebody separate?
Well, we'll take another break and come back with second half coverage here of the 2026 NIT.
and go.
Back here in the Emerald City, first round of the 2026 NIT, where St. Thomas out of St. Paul currently has the 31-30 lead over Seattle University. Shot there of Will Heimbrodt, only 3 points, came in and one play there. Again, the WCC Defensive Player of the Year, left off of an all-team selection, only 2 there for the WCC. And, you know, got to get him going if you're the Red Hawks. On the flip side, for the Tommies, has been the bench points. Isaiah Johnson-Arrigo has been lighting it up, 10 points, a perfect 4 of 4 from the field. Tibbetts has played some big minutes off the bench too, but so far for Johnny Tower, you're seeing the depth of his squad.
Yeah, and even though they have a young team, they have a lot of guys that have redshirted and have been in the program, and a nice blend of transfers and guys that they've recruited out of high school, and a system that he's put in place over his 25 years, you know, at St. Thomas, 15 of those as the head coach, and all the success they've had winning Division III National Championship, and then just the path that they're on here, Division I, and then, you know, like we talked about at the beginning with Chris Victor and what he's done, you know, in Seattle, you making the transition to the WCC and having another 20-win season. Just 2 really quality programs that have shown why they're quality basketball programs, and exciting second half in store, Russ.
2 teams in transitions, as you said. The Red Hawks not too long ago coming back to Division I in the 2010s. On the flip side, for St. Thomas making that unprecedented Division III to Division I jump, and they've done nothing but win. Can they win this one in Seattle, or the hometown squad? Will they move on for the first time in the NIT since 1957? We're back underway here, 31-30. Red Hawks with the deficit and turn it over on the first possession.
And really nice play there to create a 2-on-1, and Will Heimbrodt with kind of just the careless turnover, you know, and didn't do a good job drawing the defender before trying to throw it up to Maurer, and St. Thomas right away taking advantage of it, pushing tempo with their stud, Minnesale, converting on the other end.
Minnesale puts it back to a 3-point game. Junsuk Yo off the handoff. Pushed out of the painted area by Janowski. Back down. Heimbrodt rises up again. That one too hard off the glass. Good box out and defense there from Osterbron. Transition and forcing the issue early on here in the second half is Minnesale. He'll be at the free throw line for 2.
If you're Chris Victor, you got to be frustrated because neither of those were kind of just opportunities that should have just led to runouts that St. Thomas got. It was just seemed like St. Thomas was going downhill and Seattle U was going uphill trying to get back on defense, and not the effort you were looking for coming out of the half, you know, and you let a guy who team's leading scorer get going right here with a couple free throws as well, and it could be bad news for Seattle U.
Minnesale in his second season in St. Paul averaged 11.2, 3.5 rebounds, and 2 assists last year. Landed him the preseason Summit Player of the Year, and then was all Summit League first team and defensive team in the postseason awards. And he pushes it now to a 5-point Tommy lead.
Yeah, St. Thomas will do this at times where they'll show a little pester press after timeouts, but to your point about Minnesale, talk about a do-it-all guy, leading them in points, assists, blocks, steals, and second in rebounds. You know, one of the better all-around players in all of college basketball.
Another turnover forced here as Bayurki tipped it from behind, and then scoop shot, reverse on the other end as Minnesale's cooking in Seattle.
And he's taking this game over right now, Russ, almost single-handedly, and kind of showing Seattle U that he came ready and he's trying to go back to St. Paul with a dub and advance into the next round in the NIT.
That shot missed. Johnson-Arrigo was the only double-digit scorer in the first half for the Tommies with 10. 13 now quickly for Minnesale here in the second half. He continues to work here, pulls up, kicks it into the corner. Ball worked around the horn, drive here from Hero. Hero tried to scoop shot it to nobody in the corner. Turnover here for the Tommies.
And for as good of a player as Hero is, his Achilles heel as he jumps in the air to passes. We see the steal here, and Minnesale just full speed ahead. Knows he's got the WCC shot block leader trailing, uses the rim kind of as a deterrent for Heimbrodt. Really, really high IQ play there on the break.
It was impressive, too. You have the steals leader in the WCC as Maurer on the roll and one. Get back to that thought in a second as Maurer finishes through the contact. As the transfer from Grand Canyon will be at the free throw line. But you have the steals leader in the WCC on your hip, and you have the block leader in the WCC behind you, you know, and to still have the composure to finish through that is impressive for the sophomore out of Brookfield, Wisconsin. He started at Marquette, then came over and has been nothing but a contributor here for St. Thomas.
A nice response there by Seattle U. They're looking, because Bjorky is going to kind of quick hedge and try to recover and pick and roll, going at him and Maurer rolling right away, Maldonado making the pass. Kind of similar to what they tried to do on the first play where Heimbrough ended up turning it over. But look for Seattle U to continue to go with that 5-man pick and roll to see if they can get Maurer diving to the basket.
Seems like turnover is the only thing that's slowing down this Tommy offense. And Maurer sends it to the baseline. We'll stay here with the Tommies. You see Osteban tapping his chest saying, my bad on the shot selection, but they will retain 12 on the shot clock. Left of the basket, kick out, quick release here. Bjerke, back iron, long rebound, secured Osteban.
Seattle U fortunate there. That's a clean look for one of the best shooters in the country.
Menesali in the corner takes a step back over the 7-foot Maurer. Arrington on the board.
Yeah, and that's kind of a settle shot there, right? Not that he's not capable of making it, but he's had so much success attacking the hoop. I think Johnny Tower would prefer that he put some pressure on the rim instead of settling for the off-the-dribble 3 early in the shot clock.
Here's Yo off the roll, splits a double team, throws it off the glass, no good. And then tiptoeing on the board is Osteban again. Menesali and a foul near midcourt is Yo in transition. And that will be the first personal on Junsuk Yo.
Trey Young and Chris Paul would be proud of that play there by, Menesali just basically putting on the brakes and dribbling right into Yo's path as he was running back, picking up the foul, and just shows kind of the IQ like we saw when he used the rim to take Heimbrough's ability from blocking the shot. Just dude is a hooper with a capital H.
5-point lead for the Tommies early here in the second half, opening round of the NIT.
Switching the screen with Bjerke there on the handoff, but what ends up happening is, Janowski's got the foot speed advantage and does a good job attacking Maurer there, getting all the way to the rim.
Start of the second half has almost been a mirror image of the start of the first half for the Tommies. Yo trying to have to Maldonado. Hero is on him. The switch comes. Christopoulos, who came into the ball game for Heimbrough. He'll give it up. Maldonado now back out. Arrington, extra pass. Rises, straight on three is good. John Christopoulos laces his second of the game. He's at 8 points.
Really great kind of back and forth there by Malik Arrington and John Christopoulos. And Malik Arrington attacking one dribble, making the extra pass to JC for the top of the key 3.
Red Hawk three-point shooting, keeping them in it. And another turnover, that's keeping the Red Hawks in it as well. Turnover number 12 for St. Thomas.
And it's interesting because in that instance, Seattle U didn't jam the handoff. They normally really try to deny them, and it's almost like a PTSD from the first half that St. Thomas had kind of rushing there on the handoff, resulting in the turnover as we see Johnny Tower go to his bench here, bringing Johnson Arrigo and Default into the game.
39-35, approach the 16-minute mark here in the second half. Coming live from the Red Hawk Center on the campus of Seattle University. Christopoulos, he'll rise up, mid-range jump shot is good. And now off the bench, John Christopoulos has 10.
Yeah, and those are huge points for Chris Victor's, offense. As we've highlighted his struggle at times this year, and anytime they can get guys off the bench scoring double figures, it just takes the load off of, Junsuk Yo and Will Heimbrough.
Three-point shot on the kick out. That one a high towering rebound brought down once again. Tommies and then stolen on the kick out. Maldonado got a hand on it. Him and Arrington playing the two-man game. Rises up, foul is called, tip in, and it was called before the tip. So don't call the Arrington tip. It was the Maldonado shot. That will take us to a timeout, but a chance for the Red Hawks to tie it at the charity stripe. Big minutes off the bench here for John Christopoulos. He laces another three and then pulls up for the midi. He has 10. Red Hawks trail by 2 when we come back here on ESPN+. 2-point game here between St. Thomas and Seattle University. One of the best free throw shooters in the country will be settling at the line to try to tie it up. As Braden Maldonado, the second team WCC selection, will step up 90% from the charity stripe this year. Takes a deep breath, again trying to level his Redhawks here with the Tommies. First one is pure.
Sorry, Russ, I was just say during the timeout, you know, St. Thomas elected to go smaller than they even normally go with Bjerke on the bench and Osterbahn basically at the 5 and Johnson Aguri at the 4. So it'll be interesting to see how Seattle U is able to contain penetration. All 5 guys on the court for St. Thomas capable of attacking to close out, scoring at the hoop, or making an open 3.
Broadcaster curse lives on as a 90% free throw shooter, goes 1 of 2 at the line, so it remains a 1-point game here. Johnson Rebo with a turnover again for the Tommies here, now 14. But as we said, the Redhawks not really converting that into points, 14-9 so far.
And against a team like St. Thomas, who literally, like we talked about, led the Summit in 3-point and 2-point field goal percentage and is the #1 2-point shooting team in all of college basketball, ahead of the likes of Michigan, Arizona, Gonzaga. Them turning it over, even if you don't convert, is a win because it's taken a field goal attempt off of the table there, as we see Maurer unable to convert in the paint, which I do think Seattle U is going to have to finish in the paint if they're going to be able to, you know, come out with the W here.
Minnesali gets the post up against Christopoulos. Couple back down, and drawing the charge is Christopoulos, who's having a great performance off the bench. Minnesali not happy with the call, but as you pointed out several times on broadcast this year, JC absorbed the first one, so not to get the flop, and then kind of went down on the second to make sure, hey, I'm not going down easy.
It was textbook. If you try to go down on the first physical contact, regardless how hard it is, officials are likely not to call it. When you show you've absorbed it, and now the offense is trying to take even more advantage by hitting you again and you go down, you're going to get the call. That's textbook defense there by John Christopoulos versus one of the better post-up guards in all of college basketball.
Christopoulos, a hometown kid, you know this means so much to him. Went to high school, just a couple blocks west of here. Is this pull-up no good? In transition here, Janowski, the center. Barrington trots out to meet him.
Good transition defense there, slowing Janowski down.
Default here. Off the handoff, gets the free throw line. Has his back to Christopoulos. Kick out here. Arrigo goes baseline, poked. Tumble for the ball. Yo on top of it. Him and Johnson Arrigo tied up. Possession arrow was in favor of St. Thomas. Will stay here.
Bjerke, the stretch 5-man subbing in. High alert on him. Last time they ran a baseline out of bounds, Russ, he started on the strong side block and then quickly pops to the corner where he had an open 3. Huron Dan needs to be alert right now. And then you also need to be high alert on the inbounder, leading scorer for the Tommies, Nolan Milanase, trying to come off and get a little hand back.
Janowski in the corner. Down the wing, down with 3, down to 2. Janowski launches a 3, misses everything. Shot clock violation on the air ball. Here's it from the red zone here. Yeah, it's one of those, you're a host team, but it's technically a neutral site game here in the NIT. So the red zone in full force here inside the Red Hawk Center.
Yeah, Janowski just 3 of 10. Talked about the last 3 games, averaging just 9 a game after averaging 19 a game in conference play. He kind of continues to struggle to score and provide that second scoring punch for St. Thomas.
JoJo Murphy in front of his own bench. He has Dan on the post up, gets under the basket, scoop pass out to Arrington. Arrington resettles, 12 on the shot clock for the Red Hawks. Yo, burst of speed towards the cup, turned away now. Backs down. 6, turns around, right. Fader, no good. Dan had it, lost it off his own noggin. Here on the Tommies, trying to build that lead back up. Extra pass into the corner, pump fake here, Osterbahn. Inside, ripped away, JoJo Murphy. Murphy, he's not slowing down, goes into Hero. High off glass, and Red Hawks continue to shoot poorly inside the arc.
JoJo Murphy's more than capable of making that shot. I'd like to see him play off 2 feet. You know, they hit 6 threes in the first half, Seattle U did, and a lot of those were generated off of paint touches, as we see the quick hands of Malik Arrington stripping Janowski and then causing the turnover. One of the best defensive guards in all of college basketball.
Whether you want to call that a block or a steal, it doesn't matter. It's just a junkyard dog. It's just Arrington loves, we talked to him in the preseason, and he loves to take on the opposing team's best score, especially if they're a guard. And he takes pride in defense much more than offense, and you see that out of him as he's going to close out his Red Hawk campaign as one of the best defensive guards in the program's history.
For Seattle U to try to continue to touch the paint, and then if that creates open threes, great, but they want to play inside out.
I brought handoff to Maldonado, bursts the speed downhill, gets a high off the glass, and fouled. Are they going to count that? The backboard was hit. There might be a discussion about goaltending in the and one there, and I think that's what Chris Victor is trying to say. He slapped, the backboard was slapped.
I've always thought that should be a goaltend. I don't know that I've seen officials call it.
That's fair.
And not all shots are created equal. The way that Brady Maldonado shot that, it rattled back and forth on the rim. It'd be one thing if it just rimmed out right away. It rattled back and forth. I do think it did have an effect on the shot, but I have not seen officials call that. Maybe you should teach guys to just, hey, if you can't block it, just slap the backboard as hard as you can.
And discussion, Chris Victor still having one. The officials huddled for a quick second, decided still 2 free throws for Maldonado. Went 1 of 2 in his first trip. Try to avenge that one again on the season. 90%, as you see, Chris Victor's conversation still going on. And these are 2 coaches that have just racked up the 20-win seasons. Obviously, Coach Tower with the Tommies much longer in his 15th season, but Chris Victor in 5 has won 20-plus games in 4 of his last 5. Maldonado drains both, 40-39. Red Hawks back out in front. Hero will cross the timeline here near side, met by Maldonado.
And with Minnesale on the bench, these are minutes that Seattle U must win. Janowski also on the bench, the 2 leading scorers for St. Thomas. Can't let the others, the Bjorkies, the Johnson Agueros, Coleman get loose here.
Tibbetts. Kicks corner. Coleman, step back. 3-point shot. Short off the lip. Maldonado has it. Little hezzy to the arc, then gets under the hoop. Back out. Yo, 3-point shot. You bet. Jun Suk Yo with a big 3 here. And now 43-39. Under 12 minutes remain here in the second half. Opening round of the 2026 NIT.
Johnny Tower electing to not use a timeout with the media timeout coming soon. And Seattle, you can get another stop in the bucket. He might be forced to use one.
Milton Arrigo stopped on the block. Trying to alleviate to somebody. He needs to pass to somebody. Turns inside. Blocked by Heimbrodt, and then he lost it out of bounds. The leader in block shots in the WCC gets another one, 43-39. The Red Hawks rolling inside the Red Hawks center. Maldonado pacing them with Yo with the big 3. Be back here on ESPN+. Will Heimbrodt had another block, 2 for the day, now up to 85. Recently broke Aaron Minzy's record for Seattle University as he continues to light it up here and make that for his season as he has been towards the top in the country. He led the WCC, and his block led to transition buckets here for the Redhawks, who now have the lead 43-39.
Minnesali and Janowski both back into the game for St. Thomas, and I expect them to stay in the game.
JoJo Murphy on the kick out. His 3 falls in the hands of Minnesali, who's back in the ball game, as you said. Going to dip under 11 minutes here. Tibbetts comes up, gets the rock. Trying to coach Johnny Tower.
They got to switch JoJo Murphy with Minnesali having the size advantage, and he's very, very good with his back to the basket and at drawing fouls. One of the best in the country, actually, at drawing fouls, Russ.
So Minnesali will try to go to the line and break up this 11-0 run from Seattle University over the last 5.5 minutes. In a drought here for the Tommies. But that's the guy you want at the line trying to break it up. Good. And St. Thomas lost there to North Dakota, a close one, 66-67, snapped their NCAA tournament hope. Ended up North Dakota State got the win. They won the regular season as well, the Bison did. After the Tommies were picked preseason, but this Tommy team was at the top of the Summit League the entire race.
And still the highest net and KenPom rated team despite not winning the regular season or conference tournament championship.
They also had just a whooping of the Bison there towards the end of the season as well. Look at a 20-point win for St. Thomas. Inside Heimbrodt, trying to rise through traffic, and he does.
It's night and day when he takes his time, you know, and gathers and then explodes up as opposed to kind of rushing in the paint and struggling offensively this game. Really nice step through and finish there.
Drop off here, Rigo. See if they can get him going again, but right now Minnesali trying to do it. Not that time.
But that's different having Will Heimbrodt guarding him there, staying between him and the basket, than JoJo Murphy just from a pure size and deterrent standpoint.
Murphy draws 3 Tommies. It leaves Arrington for an open shot. Heimbrodt tipped it up, but still fell to the Tommies and Janowski. Corner, 3-point shot, blocked out of bounds by Will Heimbrodt. Who else? Add a third to his tally, and he continues to creep up the all-time blocks list for a Seattle University player. My goodness, just his shot blocking awareness. It is an art form. Not everybody can block shots, especially standing at 6'7". He's not your stereotypical shot blockers. You see that one padded into the expensive seats.
His combination of length, timing, athleticism is very, very rare and just has a knack for it.
Pop out 3-point shot, back iron there for Bjerke. Usually knocks those down.
Yeah, Bjerke's had some clean looks and just hasn't been able to get him to fall after hitting his first one.
Yo, a couple pump fakes in the corner, works his way back out. 45-41, Redhawks up by 4 here. Some action between Arrington and Maldonado. That goes away to it. Yo. Plenty of time, 10 on the shot clock. Heimbrodt inside, rises up, off the glass, kisses it. Heimbrodt coming on strong here.
And they're playing off of Will because he's not a big-time three-point shooter, and he did a great job there of eating up the space on the catch and kind of closing the distance to the rim.
Tommies need to get some offense going here. Janowski inside. Heimbrodt just missed another one. Sneaky there by Janowski to sneak that up over the rim and around Heimbrodt's hand.
So unconventional guarding Janowski and Minnesali because they are so comfortable with their backs to the basket, posting up, and really, really nice footwork there by the redshirt freshman.
Feels like the momentum is in favor of Seattle University, but still just a 4-point game. And a foul's going to be called here. I think they're going to get Hero holding up Maldonado, who's trying to cut away. First, I think that third against Hero here. Now 5 against the Tommies here as a team in the second half. You see Heimbrodt high off the box there, getting it to fall through. Hero staying on the court with 3. Minnesali also has 3 on the hardwood right now for the Tommies.
And him guarding Malik Arrington, which kind of allows him to potentially stay safe if he's disciplined, just because Malik Arrington not looking to score the basketball.
Janowski pokes it on the cross pass there and lays it up easily, no contest. Just like that, just a 2-point game. So the Tommy bench get into it here. Arrington over to Will Heimbrodt. Denial on the handoff, nearly threw it away to Yo. Yo trying to back his way down. 3 Tommies around him. Skip pass high to John Christophoulos. Crossover, Heimbrodt, spin move, rises up again and again he finishes. Will Heimbrodt absolutely cooking here, 9 points for him.
Tough shot there for Heimbrodt, able to use the glass kind of fading away, and Seattle U looking to get a stop here if they can. Another stop at the bucket heading into the timeout.
And the hero of the second half defensively and offensively for the Redhawks here. Janowski downhill against Yo, takes a step back. Yo closes out. Yo doing well to stay in front of him. Nearly fell at the end. Hero in the corner knocks it down.
A little bit of an overhelp there by Braden Maldonado, hoping he could get a steal because Janowski wasn't going to shoot it from there. And the small ball lineup for Seattle U, they can switch everything. But nice shot there by Austin Hero.
Timeout taken by Chris Victor. Will step away as well. 49-48, 6:58 left to go here in the second half. Will Heimbrodt cooking here for the Redhawks, trying to carry them to a win in the opening round of the 2026 NIT.
All right, 2, 1.
Red Hawk Big Three putting on a performance here tonight. Despite that, only up by 1 right now over St. Thomas, 49-48. 6:57 left to go here. Opening round of the 2026 NIT. Russell Brown, John Implement on the call. Thanks for tuning in here on a Tuesday as March Madness is well underway here in the Emerald City. Entry pass to Yo, double stays on him, now backs off. Minnesali, the only one guarding him. Minnesali draws the same exact play that Christophoulos did on the other end. And that should take us to another timeout. It's a good play defensively out of the timeout by Minnesali and the Tommies. They'll have possession when we come back. 49-48, Red Hawks still on top here on ESPN+. Tommy Ball, 49-48, Redhawks on top. Tommy's trying to reclaim that advantage here. They're 3 of their last 3 from the floor. Janowski over to Hero. Hero had that corner 3. Step back, Janowski, 3-point shot. Just a little too strong, tipped out of bounds. No, stays in by Hero. Maldonado comes away with it. Maldonado, Christopoulos, the trailer. Yo, back out to Christopoulos. Heimbrot, who's come on hot as of late. Arrington. Pulls up, baseline, jump shot. Oh, it just went flush halfway down, popped out. Still 1-point game here between Seattle University and St. Thomas. St. Thomas out of the Summit League, Seattle University in the WCC.
Don't overhelp. This is not where Bierski's comfortable.
Through the wickets there of Minnesali, he recovers, drives in. Everybody backs off and maybe expecting contact, blew the layup. Transition, Christopoulos, he attacks the rim, high off the glass, it wouldn't fall. There's a lid on both baskets right now. Who can break through? Inside, a block by Arrington. Tiptoes and falls down. Did he call a timeout or a foul? It looks like a foul. Oh my goodness. What a sequence of events between these two squads. They're fighting tooth and nail all night. That's the 3rd one going against Oosterbaan. Again, good job by Arrington. And another one of those, is it a block, is it a steal? Who cares? If you're a Red Hawk fan, as he comes away with it, he'll get a much-deserved breather here as JoJo Murphy checks in. He's going to replay here. And it was surely a block, but good job tiptoeing, and a little too aggressive there was Oosterbaan.
Yeah, next foul on the Tommy. Seattle U will be in the 1-and-1. And both teams finishing empty from an effort standpoint. Now, who can execute and actually convert, in the last 5 minutes here is probably going to determine who is victorious.
Redhawks have not scored in 2 and some change here. Looking to change that. Heimbrot out to JoJo Murphy off the bench. He's good. Murphy from 3, that helps. Now with 6 points. And up to a 4-point lead for the Redhawks.
You know you're a professional scorer when you can be in the game for about 10 seconds in the NIT and just cool, calm, and collected step up and hit a 3 like that. Big, big, big shot by JoJo Murphy.
Historic career at Chico State. Inside Hero. Tiptoeing that baseline, works it back out. JoJo Murphy with the steal. Good job to pick up the dribble before he traveled. Now Maldonado returned to Cinder.
And great job by JoJo Murphy closing hard to the shooter, Bjerke, making him bounce it where he's not as comfortable, then using his quickness to get the steal.
4.5 minutes remain here in the second half. Maldonado dancing with Hero over to Murphy. Directing Christopoulos to go baseline. Clear out and still passes it in to the body there. Oosterbaan and is fouled in transition there. Oosterbaan showing off the handles behind the back there.
And actually not a bad foul by Seattle U because you're not in the bonus and you eliminate the fast break, get your defense set, live to play another day.
So still a 4-point game. Arrington's going to check back into the ball game. Maldonado looks a little gingerly holding that thigh. Hopefully he is okay there. Inbatter will be Default in front of his own bench. Gets it in to Johnson Arrigo. Masali backing down Arrington, rises up, gets the shot put shot kind of up there, but came off flat on the rim.
Good defense by Malik Arrington, and both teams going small right now, kind of matching each other. Really 10 guards / wings on the court right now.
At the 4-minute mark, Murphy just outside the circle, takes a foot in. Yo flashes the ball, he dribbles away from it. Step back out to Arrington. Yo, again, that pump fake is lethal. Shot clock getting low for the Redhawks here, though. Murphy goes baseline, rises up. Scoop shot underneath the basket, no good. Tip in. Heimbrot is right there to clean it up. 11 points for Will Heimbrot. Again, if the Redhawks can hold on, he has been the second half hero here. Tommy's going to have something to say about that here. They're experienced. They know how to score, but a block by Christopoulos. Spinning right into it was Janowski, and the Red Hawk defense continuing to shine.
You still want to be aggressive here if you're Seattle U, right? But you do want to take your time and use some of the clock to generate a good look.
Yo here takes a step back over to Heimbrot. Again, 11 points for him. Cut off there on the drive by Janowski. Shot clock getting low again. Heimbrodt rises, a lot of traffic, gets his own miss, goes up again, blocked again, and a foul is going to be called. That will take us to a timeout. Will Heimbrodt trying to add on to his 11 points. JoJo Murphy, the scoop doesn't fall, but that's okay. They got a guy there, and number 15, Will Heimbrodt. We'll take a break here, 54-48 when we come back on ESPN+. Opening round of the 2026 NIT. Some final scores from the NIT. Oklahoma State survives Davidson 84-80. UNCW takes down Yale, the 3 seed, 68-67. And Tulsa survives a former conference foe for the Seattle University Redhawks in SFA, 89-84 in overtime. And right now, Will Heimbrodt at the line trying to put his Redhawks into the next round. First one is good. 12 points for him now. John, I mean, since about midway through the second half, Heimbrodt really stepped up. It started defensively with a couple block shots, and then the offense kind of picked up right behind that.
Yeah, he's been a tone setter, and he scored buckets when they need him. And Seattle U still only shooting, 35% from the field for the game, but their defense against just a potent offense has really been the story, Russ. I mean, forcing 20 turnovers for St. Thomas, just 5 of 19 from 3. On twos, the stat that they lead all of college basketball in, they're just shooting 45%, which is 20% below their average. Just an elite defensive performance, 37 minutes through. See if Chris Victor's squad can finish it out.
Here is Hero Austin, downhill, stops on a dime on the block, kicks it back out. Jadowski centers himself, popping out to get the rock there, Minnesali. Minnesali with Arrington, calls for the screen. More of a flare, Minnesali backing down Arrington. Arrington falls, and another charge taken here as Arrington absorbs the contact from Minnesali. And for Minnesali, that is number 5. So if the Tommies want to do it, they're going to have to do it without their leading scorer. That is a tough one to swallow. And John, is that one of those, if you're Minnesali, you got to be a little more heads up to maybe not initiate that play knowing your foul count.
And he showed how high IQ of a player he is right throughout the game multiple times. I think the thing that's tough is Malik Arrington takes the first contact. Minnesota continues to go at him, and he was the benefit of on Jun Suk-yeol on the
Right.
other end of drawing the same foul. So it's not like the referees have not been consistent. It's the third time on second contact we've seen them do that. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, without their leader, what St. Thomas can do here as Seattle U forced to use a timeout, which Chris Victor would prefer to not have to do right now. You know, you want to save those for the last minute and a half or so, but better than a turnover. Seattle U just now with one timeout left.
So Minnesali on the bench here is going to be uphill battle for St. Thomas. 8-point separation right now. And St. Thomas knows how to win games. 24-9, 12-4 in Summit League play. Just missed out on the regular season crown. Lost out to North Dakota, who lost to North Dakota State in the championship eventually in the Summit League tournament. This Tommy's squad knows how to win, and the big players have stepped up. Johnson Arrigo has been big so far in this ballgame. Can he pick them up in the final 2.5 minutes? Bjerke, Janowski, Osterbond, one of them is going to have to be the hero here for the Purple.
Well, and lots of time left, but their season low, Russ, is 58 points, which was their very first game of the year at another WCC opponent at St. Mary's where they lost by 26. And so 10 below that right now. And can't say enough about Seattle U's defense, but a lot of time left in this game here.
I think the national stage is starting to see Chris Victor's defensive scheming and abilities to coach that side of the ball up. Because defense, you can coach it, but a lot of it has to do with the effort of the players you recruit as well.
Yeah, and the standards that you set in practice and what you tolerate, mindset, all that sort of stuff, that just because something's simple doesn't mean it's easy. And that's how I would define Chris Victor's defense. You know, they don't do anything fancy, but dudes play hard. As JoJo Murphy getting in his bag there with the little scoop shot to go up 10 with under 2 to go.
Bjerke a little slow to get up as well. He's trailing the play, now will crash to the paint.
You got your small ball lineup in. Do not overhelp. Switch everything. Threes are what's going to beat you. Do not foul. Do not give up threes.
And the great offense right now of St. Thomas is meeting the brick wall of Seattle University's defense right now as they've dropped down to 38% from the floor as they have just been absolutely smothered by the red and white.
And one thing that's interesting, that it really serves St. Thomas well throughout the year. They're not a big set play team. They're more of a principles overplay. They have a style. All their guys are fundamentally sound. And I think that gets you really, really far. And what we've seen is because Seattle U has so many good individual defenders, they've shown that Chris Victor's shown he's willing to go small and switch, that you know, you can't just draw something up right now to get a three. It's really the guys have to generate it through your principles, and Seattle U's really done just a great job of eliminating St. Thomas's ability to execute on the principles they've built all season, which is why they're at under 50 with under 2 to go.
And St. Thomas, 83 points per game, sitting at 48, and have not scored in 5.5 minutes. Again, you could say, hey, it's an off shooting night for St. Thomas, but you got to give credit to Seattle University as well. This St. Thomas team is great, well-rounded team, and right now the Red Hawks at home having their way defensively. Is a good finish inside, coming down, and a quick timeout here for Johnny Tower after Osterbond gets the finish. And now they need buckets in a hurry, looking at a 10-point deficit with 92 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and we got a 30-second timeout here. Seattle U is going to get pressed. They have one timeout left. They can run the baseline because it was a made hoop. If you're St. Thomas, you're probably looking to get a quick trap and force a turnover. If you can't force a turnover, you got to foul, and you have to try to prolong the game. And you have to hope that Seattle U, a team that's struggled from the free throw line this year, misses some free throws. All that being said, you got to do everything in your power if you're St. Thomas to not let Braden Maldonado catch the ball. Somebody else has to get the catch. That's who we're going to foul. If Braden Maldonado does catch it, I would trap him, force him to get rid of it. Then you foul whoever gets it if you can't generate the turnover. And at this point, it's going to be your last game of the year if you don't win. If Seattle U makes all their free throws and you lose by 20, you lose by 20. But at least draw this game out as long as you can. Give yourself a chance to get back in it. And Seattle U going to look to try to get the ball to Braden Maldonado as best as possible.
They say the last minute in basketball is the longest minute on earth. We'll see here as Arrington running the baseline, trying to get it in, and they got to blow that final one. And Coach Johnny Tower not happy. Again, they had that second call early in the ball game where it seemed really quick. That one was prolonged, allowed Seattle University to call the timeout. As Chris Victor having a conversation with Arrington about maybe getting it into that first look.
And now with Seattle U having to use their last timeout, you don't have anymore. So if you do run into a scenario where you're Malik Arrington and you cannot get the ball inbound, you want to throw it to the other end of the court. Not so much so that it goes out of bounds without being touched, because then it just gets brought back to your baseline, but you'd rather have, you know, like check up, right, and have St. Thomas go get the ball in the backcourt, your defense is set, then allow them to inbound it underneath without any time going off, worst case scenario. And if you can't get it into Brady Maldonado, get it into whoever you can. And St. Thomas electing to not put anybody on the ball, which should give Malik Arrington a passing lane, but what it does allow St. Thomas to do is to put 2 guys on Brady Maldonado, kind of double team him, and you know, situations like this, I like it. Make Brady Maldonado a screener and then roll out of it and come back to the ball instead of kind of just leaving him on an island to get open.
Saw a shot there of John Christopoulos. He had a big performance tonight off the bench. Hometown kid, Will Heimbrodt as well. Junsuk Yo also with 10. Maldonado 13. And the big players for Seattle U stepped up on the day they needed them most. Early on in this ball game, looks like St. Thomas's offense is going to run all over them, but they settled down defensively, and the offense eventually came, as it often does with Chris Victor's squads, as they weathered the storm here at home. Can they close out the last 92 seconds here? Murphy saying he got held. Ooh, it looked like he was out of bounds.
Yeah, but the St. Thomas player was out of bounds.
And it leads to a Yo dunk on the other end. A lot of confusion going on that baseline.
And the official missed that because the St. Thomas player, it'll be interesting to see if we get a replay. He basically was denying JoJo Murphy out of bounds, which you cannot do. What Seattle U was trying to do was Brady Maldonado run the baseline, JoJo Murphy step out, throw it to him. Brady Maldonado steps back in because no one was on the ball. He would be open. And
regardless, there should have been a whistle here.
Yeah,
as
and
you
I don't know if we'll be able to see it in this view. You can see there, Hayden Tibbetts is out of bounds playing defense, which he cannot do in that situation.
So after all that commotion, default at the free throw line. He took a hard tumble, and he misses the front end.
I should preface all that, Russ. I don't think you can do that.
I would agree on that.
Otherwise,
it felt like a whistle what should have been called.
Yeah. And if I end up being wrong on that with not a proper understanding of the rule, I will write an apology letter to the official. But if that was the case, then you would just have guys just fully swarm guys taking the ball out of bounds, you know, stepping out of bounds there.
So Arrington at the free throw line here on the other end. It is the double bonus, guaranteed 2. As 0 for 2 at the line was default. And 13-2 over the last 3, make it 4 minutes here for the Red Hawks to close this one out, but the Tommies, 1 of their last 7. And again, that meeting with Chris Victor, you know, we talked about what would have to go right for his squad to get the win here, and so far, you know, it didn't mirror exactly what he said, but if you hold a team that averages 83 points a game to 50 with 119 left to go, I think that's a win in your eyes.
Yeah, like I said, their season low was 58, and that was at St. Mary's, the very first game of the year, who's one of the best defensive programs in all of college basketball. And like in the last game of the year, after these guys have all played together all season, had a 24-win season, to hold them to 50, we'll see what the final is as good of a defensive effort as I've seen all season from Seattle U.
Hero and the Tommies need to put up shots quickly. And up Tibbetts. Tibbetts will launch. High arcing rainbow shot here. Ball tipped around in the hands of Maldonado. Bumped quickly from behind. And I think they're going to get Osterbahn unless they're going to get Hero. No, they're Osterbahn. Him and Heimbrodt took a tumble away from the play. And that's the 5th one now against Osterbahn, so he'll take a seat next to Minnesali. Tough ending here for the Tommies season, which was a great season.
And a lot that they should be proud about, right? No one's going to be happy about the loss, and they're going to go back to St. Paul not feeling great about how this game went. But when you look back, when the dust settles, 24 wins, finished 2nd in the Summit League, you know, 1 possession away from going to the championship game with a young roster. And I just hope that, you know, that they can retain the core players, because they really, really do have all the makings for a team that could be an NCAA tournament team next season if they can get the majority of those guys to come back. And you know, Johnny Towers shown that he is a program builder and the right guy for the job in St. Paul, no question about that.
Have a beautiful arena that opened up. They have momentum, again, making that unprecedented D3 to D1 transition. Three-point shot launched up here. Ball tipped out. Second chance for the Tommies. Another launch shot. This one off the fingertips of Janowski. And JoJo Murphy comes away with it, and he's fouled from behind before Maldonado launches from the logo. But yeah, I mean, they're set up. Summit League, you know, we'll see what next year looks like as well, but you got to assume they're going to be one of the favorites. They want to retain these players. A lot of them Minnesota natives or Wisconsin or Midwest, you know, and you have a coach that's an alumnus. You have just the makings of a really good mid-major program, and it's going to be exciting there in St. Paul as they continue to build.
Yeah, their 6 leading scorers all have another year of eligibility, and like you mentioned, you know, they got 12 of the 16 guys on their roster are from either Minnesota or Wisconsin, and some of those guys they recruited out of high school. Others were guys that went to quote-unquote Power 4 schools, like Austin Hero, who went to South Carolina, or Johnson Arrigo, who went to Miami and Iowa. They got them to come back home, and so really nice job blending the roster by Coach Tower and his staff.
That one pure knocked down there by Johnson Arrigo, speaking of the Maple Grove native. Again, a lot of these guys finished top 5, top 10 in Mr. Basketball in Minnesota as well. So they got hoopers here as Seattle University trying to wind this clock out. The transition year from them, going from the WAC to the WCC non-conference. It looked like they were going to really have something to say about the WCC, but they got in and they made a great conference. Still got to 20 wins. Going to move on in a postseason tournament here. Going to win in the NIT. Going to be in the NIT for the first time since '57 as they take the shot clock violation. The historic run of head coach Chris Victor continues. As Christopoulos and Dan will check in, taking out Maldonado and Arrington. Much deserved curtain call for the backcourt that has led the Red Hawks the last few years.
Pretty special for those two guys too, that, you know, this is their last year in college basketball, to continue to keep going and playing in the NIT tournament and see how long they can keep the run going for the Red Hawks.
Red Hawks are going to move on, 67-52, knocking off the Tommies of St. Thomas. Seattle University moving on to the second round of the NIT. We'll take a quick break, have post-game interview here on ESPN+. Welcome back to Seattle, where the Red Hawks get the win in the opening round of the NIT here with Will Heinbrock. 13 points with 5 rebounds, 3 blocks. Really sparked that second half where you guys pulled away. How big was this game for you?
I mean, it was huge. We haven't been in the NITs for like almost 70 years, so it's big for the school, big for the program. We were excited, and I love the energy in the second half. First half was sloppy. We didn't play terrible, but it was pretty sloppy. Myself included, I was pretty lazy, but we turned it around. It's fine.
St. Thomas, a team that averages 83 points a game. You hold them to 52. Your blocks seem to spark that. What is it about this team's defensive identity that really pushes you?
I mean, everyone goes hard. Like, everyone held me accountable. I was jumping around in the first half, like 2 times. We got pump fakes. I started being more disciplined. We all locked in, and we were just flying around making great plays.
Braden was in double figures. You were in double figures. Christopoulos off the bench. June as well. Talk about how well-rounded this squad is and how deep the roster is.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's like 4 people in double figures. It shows how much we play together as a team, how selfless everyone is. Like, my shot wasn't falling in the first half, but everyone else was picking me up. I got to go in the second half, so it's great.
A postseason win now. Your season continues. What's going to be the driver as you guys continue to dive into the NIT?
Just keep fighting. Like, this team the last 3 weeks of the season, like, we've been playing so hard. We've been locked in on the scouts. We come out with energy every game, so just keep that up.
Well, congratulations, Will, on the win, and we'll see you possibly at Auburn.
Sir, thank you.
Again, Will Heimbrot, after his big performance defensively and offensively, leads the Redhawks to a win. We'll take another quick break and recap this one here on ESPN+. Back here in Seattle where the Redhawks get the 67-52 win over St. Thomas in the opening round of the 2026 NIT. Defense really stepped up when it was on display here for the Redhawks as they punched their ticket to the next round, and as all things looking might be in Alabama to take on the top-seeded Auburn Tigers, who are currently leading 67-59. So fun times here in Seattle. Will Heimbrot, the player of the game, you saw him there in the highlights. St. Thomas's offense, who averages 83 points per game, stifled to just 52 as Seattle University in their first season in the WCC moving on. Well, for John Impleman and myself, Russell Brown, thank you for tuning in. See you next time on an ESPN Plus broadcast. 67-52, your final score here in the NIT.